In this video, we're going to look at different Sasquatch structures. Sasquatch make structures for many different reasons. One of them is for fun, as in a form of art. Another is to communicate with each other, and another is to get the attention of humans. So there may be other reasons too, but these are the three that are probably most important for us to know. And I'm just going to use this first one here as an example. This is a tiny little structure. It's probably less than a foot high. And these tiny structures are often made by children and often for the fairies or for the elementals, for them to have a little spot to play in, to be in, to meet in, depending on the size. And sometimes these are just for fun. So this is just at a park, and I'm not going to explain too many of these unless it's really important, because there are a lot of them. I'm just going to scroll through them. This is very typical of just something they're doing to play around. That's, again, a smaller one, so the younger ones will imitate the adults. That's a very interesting one. These are also in many varied places, many different places. These have been taken in, some way up in the mountains, some in city parks, some in, and I'm talking nature city parks, some in actual just city parks where people are there all the time. They like to observe humans. So these are taken in many, many different locations. So you can see how varied they are, but you can also see a theme starting to form. This is a very big structure. These are entire trees being used for this one. You don't see that so much here on the west coast of BC. You see a lot of that more inland. Different areas have different styles, that's the other thing. And if you see moss on things like this, that doesn't mean that it's really old. These could be just trees that are fallen on the ground, or the moss could have been put on top. And just make a note of this little fake fire pit here, because we have a whole section on that later. But these are things that they do as well. And a lot of these are in the middle of nowhere. So if you're thinking people have made them, yes, it's possible, but not probable. This one is way up high on a mountain. And to us, they may look like they have no purpose or meaning. But a lot of these are placed where they're close to people, and they're trying to see who's going to notice that it's actually them and not humans making these. And once again, not that humans can't be involved, because I've seen, this is way up and high on a mountain. And that's survey tape, so where does that come from, you know? Here is an example where they're using the stump as a vase. So you'll see this quite often. This material in this particular park has been used over and over again to make different things. Those are just leaves shoved into the side of a tree for no particular reason, you know, to our mind. There's another example of them being used as a vase. This is a really tall stump. I'm about 5'6" and I probably come up to about here. So that's a very, very big stump, and it'd be very difficult for someone to actually do that because those branches are a lot bigger than they look, and to try to get them up and in there would be very hard for someone who wasn't extremely tall. So you can see it's sort of like variations on a theme. Again, sort of used as a vase, not quite because there's no hole in that one by the looks of it, but just nicely balanced there. Now this one's interesting because this fogginess or blurriness often happens when they're in the vicinity. So you'll see parts of this which are extremely clear, like right here. There's no reason for the rest of this to be blurry. And the subsequent pictures that I took surrounding this weren't blurry either. So when they're around, things like that will happen on your camera. And this one's just at a park in the middle of a city. Now this was a creation. We were camping, me and a few other people. Well, exactly as many people there are rungs on this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this was put in our campground where the 7 of us was it 8 of us? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. We're camping right at eye level for a human. And I just walked past that and there it was. So they can do things like this, and they'll use materials, whatever's around that they can find. So they found some copper wire that they've used here. And it's very interesting how this has all been tied, if you could see the whole thing. But that they do things like that as well. They also do a lot of this, sort of entryways into things with stones or sticks in different ways. Again, that's at a city park. You can see the people. Now, it's interesting about these logs. So there are these big logs here, and there's another one over there. I tried to lift these with a big, tall guy, 6'4" or something like that. And we couldn't even budge these logs. They've been here for a long time and they're completely waterlogged. But these logs move around this park like someone just picks them up, no big deal, and just moves them over here or moves them over there. So that's another interesting thing to look out for. Again, another sort of used as a vase stump. See, these would really have no purpose for a human to be making something like this. There's different ways you can tell if it's them for sure. I was going to say that you can often see humans playing in the Sasquatch structures or the other way around, Sasquatch adding to human structures. And I'll see if I can find an example of that coming up here that I know for sure. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it may not be in this group. No, this one was very interesting, made for fairies. So inside here you can see all these dandelions that have been put down, and this is all very balanced. Like, look how this stick is balanced here. It's broken and there's 2 pieces balanced like this, 1, 2, up like a zigzag. Often you'll find a Y stick in their structures. That's not a big structure at all. It's a very common shape. Again, another really small one. And this thing just balanced here, just, hanging there by an inch of its life. I'm going to go back to that last one. You'll notice there's things inside here. That's often the way, and there'll often be things inside the teepee style ones, rocks and sticks and other things. Another example of being used as a vase is another one way up on a mountain. Now this was interesting. There's another one that follows this that's also very interesting. This is on a bike path way up high in a mountain. You're coming downhill, and this is in nowhere particular. It's just on the side. And because I'm used to looking for this sort of thing, found it. But again, this shouldn't be here, and nobody's going to stop on this trail because usually it's very busy and there's a lot of bikes coming down really fast. I managed to pull mine off the track and get up into the off the road there a little bit and take this picture. But I've got another one coming that's very intricate that was right on a corner on one of these fast bike trails. See, look how small this is. There'd be actually no purpose for this to be made. Like, what would the purpose be? So it's like an art form. Another one way, way up on the mountain. But you can see the similarities in these in all the different locations. And again, they'll use whatever's around. If they find somebody's left some twine or a bungee cord or something, they can use that in their structures and do. See, this one has a twine or a rope or something involved in it as well. See, there'd be no reason for anyone to make that. It's pretty much just a piece of art. And this one you can see it's incorporated planed wood that they found around somebody's place or around the park. Another one's sort of used as a vase, but they love to use stumps for things, and then a rock in there, with some brush. See, there's another example of a sort of a walkway close to this structure right here. Again, twigs being put in the tree. Now this one was very interesting because often, if there are females in the area, they'll use a lot of things like flowers and make things really pretty. So this was just such a sweet little piece of work. Another one being used as a vase. And again, just something really interesting in the middle of a park for no particular reason. The one I was looking for isn't here. I have so many more of these. I've just dozens and dozens and dozens of them. But there's one, and I think it's in the same park, where there's a structure up against a tree, and it's like a teepee formation. It's got an entryway, but there are blackberry canes. And if you know blackberry canes, they're very thick. They can be up to an inch thick with big thorns on them. And in order to break one of those, you'd probably have to use cutters or something. But nobody is going to go there and break them with their bare hands. So these were completely torn. The ends were shredded, and they were woven in and out of this structure. So those blackberry canes came from across the road. So they would have had to go into this space, which is kind of like a jungle, and rip these out with their hands and come back and weave them into this structure. So somebody had seen children playing in the structure, and sure enough, it looks like a fort. Why wouldn't you want to play in it? So the kids were playing in it, and then the person that was with me automatically assumed that the kids had done it. And I said, well, let's go have a closer look. And then when we got there, I noticed this weaving of the blackberry canes in and out, and that's how you can tell that's not a human who's done that. No one's going to rip those out by their bare hands and bring them and weave them in and out of a structure like that. That is not something kids are going to do or be able to do. So they can be made by both humans and Sasquatch, or a combo either way. I just wanted to reiterate that. But there's some examples of Sasquatch structures. I hope you enjoyed that.